Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first ever Sirvoy webinar. We welcome you. Uh, by the way, in case everything works out okay with the sound and video, please feel free to mention that in the comments if there's any questions regarding technical things. Also wanted to remind you, please be sure to subscribe to Sirvoy on our YouTube channel because we have tutorials and other useful information that will pop up there from time to time. There will be a live chat support. We have the chat on the actual YouTube stream right now. So if you have any questions as you go along, feel free to go ahead and put your question in right there in the live chat window. And we actually have some of our support agents. I think Simon is my good friend Simon. He's there and he'll be able to answer some of those questions as we go along while I'm presenting. And then at the end, we will have a section where we'll have a question and answer session, or, I'll probably look at these comments. And if there are any questions that haven't been answered already, I can address those in the actual webinar itself. But hopefully those questions can all be answered by Simon in the chat itself. In case there are further questions after the webinar is over, I definitely welcome you to go to Sirvoy.com, our official website, and in the bottom right corner, you'll see that there's an option for opening up a chat window. If you open up a chat window there, you'll be able to speak with a human in a matter of seconds. We don't have any robo answers or anything like that, so we definitely welcome you to take full advantage of that. So today will not be a complete overview of our system. That's not what this is about. We're just going to focus on a couple of key aspects of our system and maybe look at ways that you can use the system more fully, or some features that exist in our system that you weren't aware of until now. So here's an overview of what we'll be talking about. So we'll be considering room type options. We'll be looking at the internal room type option function, duplicates option, and then multiple languages for rooms. That's what that is for different room types. You can have it set up so that there's multi-language support. We'll get into the details of that soon. We'll be talking about the invoicing feature, setting up the invoicing module, how to export a PDF report, and how to have a standard message on invoices, and some other things. I know that for many, the invoicing feature of support of Sirvoy can be a bit intimidating or a bit confusing sometimes for some if you don't have a background in accounting, for example. And then we also have the extras feature, and I'm sure that many of you are using the extras feature for having an add-on breakfast or a roll-away bed or other things. But there are some extra features or extra functionality with the extras option that we'll get into today. For example, you can keep count of extras per day, have extras only appear for certain room types, and you can even have bookings that are extras only. So it's almost like a simple point of sale system in a way. In other words, you don't actually have to have an accommodation. You can just make an extras only booking. And then you can even use extras as a way to create a discount. You can create a negative extra, and that will make it so that it's like a discount, and it'll keep the books balanced. And then, of course, at the end, as we mentioned, we'll have an Ask the Audience section, and I'll just scroll through some of the past messages, and we actually invite you to share your thoughts regarding this question too. And you can feel free to answer this question as the webinar goes along. The question is, what are some Sirvoy features that you didn't use at first, but you now find very useful, or something that you discovered in the process of using Sirvoy? So we hope that today's webinar will be very useful for you. So let's go ahead and hop in and look at Sirvoy from the back end. Here's my admin account. And when you log into the dashboard, this is the first thing you see. Of course, for those that are just starting up with Sirvoy, you'll see the various check boxes here, and you want to make sure you get those check boxes taken care of so that you can be ready to go live. But let's go into the room types option section right now. So to do that, you click on settings. And we see here, I've already created a double room and a single room. In order to create a new room type category or just a new room type, you can click on add new. And then you can create a new room type. So for example, I'll create a suite. And for a description, I'll just do a generic description or a very simple one. This is a suite. I'll upload an image. Let's see. All right. And there you go, suite. Open it up. Upload that file. And you can upload multiple images, of course. Just for demonstration purposes, I'll just do one. And click on done. I'm going to make the maximum number of guests 4. And just to keep it simple, I'm going to make it a fixed price of, let's make it a $100 per night. Okay, so now this is actually the process of just creating a room type, just a basic one. And I'll click on save. Oops. Sorry. Maximum. Oh, right here. So maximum number of guests is going to be 4 as well. And I'll click on save. All right, there you go. So now I've got the suite room type. I'll just add a couple units real quick. We'll have it so that the 4th floor is where the suites are at. So 401 and 402 will be the suites. Few suites in the hotel, and there you go. That's actually the process for making a room type. And then of course you add the units, which are the physical rooms in your hotel that have the same price and occupancy parameters. But let's say that I wanted this only to appear at the front desk. I don't want it to appear in the public booking form or the public booking engine. Well, then what I can do is I can click on edit. And you can do this when you're creating the room type too. And you can just switch to this part right here to internal room type on. And then I'll click on save. And let's take a look at what that looks like now. So right now here it mentions it's an internal room type. But if I go to the demo booking engine, here that's I can do that by going to settings, booking engine, how to install. And now here below, I have a preview of the actual booking form. And I'll click on search. The single room appears, the double room appears, but you'll notice that the suite does not appear because on the public booking form, it doesn't appear since I set it as internal. However, if I go to new booking, this is of course from the back end, and I want to make a booking, I can do the same thing and the suite does appear because I can make a booking for the suite on the back end, but as I once again, not on the front end because I've made it internal. Now, let's say that for the suite, you want it so that it's available on the front end. You want it so that people can book it, but you also want it so that it's a different rate on booking.com or another booking channel. Maybe you realize that it's a bit more, it should be a bit more expensive on booking.com. So you want to sell the suite, but at a different price. So if you want to do that, you can click on add new. And now instead of just doing the normal process, for the first thing you'll want to do is click on this. This is a duplicate. You'll turn this to on. So it's asking you, what is it a duplicate for? So I'm going to make it a duplicate for the suite. So that means it just borrows the same set of physical rooms. So I'm going to call this one suite booking.com. And I'm going to send this to internal room type as well because I don't want that appear on the public booking form. I just know that that's a special rate that I'm linking to booking.com. I'll type this is a special rate, and this description, of course, will only appear to me. You already know how to add an image, so I'll skip that step for now. And of course, I'll keep it the same parameters here. And I'll make the price now 120. So really, for this particular example, everything's the same, except I've changed the price so that it's more expensive. Of course, if you want to make it so that it's a non-refundable option, you could probably make it a bit cheaper. And then you may want to show it so that it is showing on the public booking form. So you would turn internal room type off. So that way the potential guests would see that there's two options. There's the standard suite that you can book, or the non-refundable rate that you can book for a lower price, but it's non-refundable. So these are just some ideas for how you can use the duplicates function. So I'll go ahead and click on save. And now you'll see that I have the suite, which is what we created just a little bit before. And also we see the suite booking.com version. It's an internal room type. You can see that the price is different. But here I can't add units. Why is that? Well, it's borrowing the same set of units from the parent, which is the parent room type, which is the suite. So here it's the same physical rooms, just at a different rate. And actually you can apply restrictions or other parameters to the duplicate only. So for example, if you don't want it to be bookable on booking.com for a period of time, you can create a restriction that only applies to the duplicate that we just made right now. By the way, to make restrictions, you can click on settings, restrictions. You'll click on restrict period, and you can go ahead and look at the options here. It just lets you set the start date, end date for when the restriction is. And this is the key part right here. Valid for room type. You'll want to select that particular room type only. But anyways, I won't do that for now. That's where you can set it up, just so you know. Okay, let's go back to settings. And here we have the room types again. So I showed you how to do the internal room type, showed you how to make a duplicate. And I'll just show you briefly, there's some other features here on the right side. Oh, this is the duplicate. Let me go back to the original parent one. All right. So on the right side, of course, you can add information about amenities. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Here you can also change the object type. So if you have a hostel, you can make it so that the units are actually beds in a dorm instead of rooms as part of a room type. So that could be a useful piece of information to know. Also, you can change the sort order here as well. Right now, I just set it to auto, and I'll leave it at that. But in case you want to give extra visualization or promote some of your more luxury rooms first, you can have it so that this appears first. For example, the suite, I want them to see that first, and maybe they'll be more likely to book that. And then, of course, we have it so that you can set it so that it's a flexible price model. You can have it a different price based on the number of people that are in the room. You might wonder, what's the difference between number of guests and max number of guests? Well, the number of guests is the number of guests that typically go in the room, and then the max number of guests is the maximum number of guests, including extra beds, such as rollaway beds. So, for example, maybe you have this so that the suite can actually get 4 people on the beds that are in the room already, but then you have the option of including an extra that is a rollaway bed. So you'll put it so that it's 5 for the maximum number of guests, assuming that they get an extra bed. By the way, there's also the option to exempt it from a surcharge. I've already set up surcharges under settings, payments and invoicing, and surcharges. Surcharges are taxes that will be added on top of stated prices. And you can have it exempt from there or not exempt, just so you know. You have that option. Okay, so there you go. Those are the features for how to set up your room types. Really, with all that information there, you can set up your room types for your hotel in the basic setup, and also get a little bit more advanced with the internal room type function and the duplicates function. And you can use your creativity to make it so that you have special rates, as special things available depending on what your hotel's needs are. So, for example, you can even make it so that a duplicate is breakfast included, or you can make it so that certain restrictions apply to the duplicate. So maybe a special deal is only available for a certain time, so you'll make it so that it's not available for those other periods. Or you can make it so that for the special deal, you create a restriction for bookable days. So that means you can specify the minimum number of nights for a booking. So, for example, you could say you can get the duplicate of the suite, the special deal with the suite, but you make it so that you have to get a minimum of so many nights. So only if you book over 3 nights does this work. And of course, you'll have it so that it's set for only the room type that applies. So in this case, it would be the suite for booking.com, which is already a room type duplicate. Anyway, I won't do that, but just that's so you know. And you've got a bunch of options and features right there. Okay, let's move on to the next topic in our webinar, and that is the invoicing feature. So, a lot of people can find the invoicing feature just a bit intimidating, and some may even wonder, should I activate the invoicing feature, or should I just keep things, recorded off of Sirvoy, or just use the standard print specifications option? Well, one thing as a support agent for Sirvoy, it's always what I say is it's always better to have it than to not have it in case you need it for later on. And actually, once you understand the basics of the invoicing feature, you may find that it's actually very easy to use. So let's hop back into the back end. And to activate the invoicing feature, you'll click on Settings. We're actually already at Settings, but I'll just click on it anyway. And then Payments and Invoicing. And the first thing you'll want to do is activate the invoicing module. When you first start up with Sirvoy, it'll probably prompt you to do that on the dashboard. It's going to be one of the 4 check marks there. I think it's the last one, or one of the check marks there. And this is where you activate it. So I'll click on the grayed out edit button, and I'll click on this feature is activated. Now, you might look at this and think, whoa, what is all this? IBAN, BIC, everything. What you could do for now is just leave it as it is and just click on save. But I'll just give you a basic overview. If you want to have a certain text to appear in all the footers, for all your invoices, you can have it here, or some other message, you can write that here. Go ahead and take your time and take a look at the different options here. And you can always come back to this under Settings, Payments and Invoicing module. But for now, I'll just leave it as it is and click on Save. So this is where you edit it in case you want to make some changes to that. So I've got it activated. Good. Step 2 is the chart of accounts. So step 1 is activating the invoicing module. Step 2 is setting up the chart of accounts. Now, what is the chart of accounts? Well, it's a way to categorize the different types of payments that you have in our system. So I know that for when they book the double room or the single room or the suite. I just added that right now. So actually I'll add numbers for that. You know that the ledger account code is 001. For extras, it's 002. And then if you want to distinguish between the different types of payment methods, you can use 003, etc. Or if you prefer and you don't need to distinguish between the different payment categories, you can just make 001 for all of them, or just write the words default for all of them. So you've got flexibility here. You don't necessarily need to categorize all your different ways of or all the different things on the invoice, but you do have that option if you choose to do that. So I'll leave that as is, and I'll go and click on save. And by the way, I think, is it right here? Yeah. So yeah, there's actually extra information about the invoicing module right here, in case you wanted to take a look at that. Okay. All right, so I've activated the invoicing module. I've set up things for the chart of accounts. Now let's actually make an invoice for a booking. So the first thing I'll do is I'll make a booking. So why don't I do that in our newly made suite? So I'll set it for, okay, so check-in date. You know something, just to make it a little bit different, I'll make a booking directly from the calendar. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to make it for the suite. Okay, so how about for this one right here? Okay, for the, oh, by the way, this little sad face right here, or the straight face, that's just because you can manage cleaning in our system. So let me just click on units and switch those to cleaned. It has nothing to do with the availability. Now they're nice and happy. And let's see. I'll make it right there. Good. So you can click on the first date. And okay, so it's already, since I clicked on the suite, it already has it so that the 4 guests are going into the suite. And there you go. I think that's good. I've already got a 10% tax added. Next step. So I'm just going to call this John Smith. Maybe just make it nice and generic. I've already turned off all the other, oops. I've already turned off, let me get that. Okay, well anyways. So by the way, okay, I guess I'm showing an extra feature. When you type in the first name and last name, you can also click on this button and it will show all past bookings under that same name by clicking on the search for guest details. But as I was saying, all the other features I've turned off for now. Normally you can make it so that it's required, but just for demonstration purposes, I set it so that you only need to enter in the first and last name. So let's go ahead and make this booking. Okay, I've created the booking. And by the way, you can, it takes you right to the booking details page, but you can reference this later by going to the bookings tab. And right now there's 0 current bookings, but coming up, if I click on that, I'll see that tomorrow, because that's when I made it for, is that John Smith booking. So I can click on the booking number right here. Okay, so here we are. We're in the actual booking. Now, since we've got the invoicing module activated, you'll notice that there's these 2 options right here. There's create cash receipt and create invoice. And you might be confused. Okay, what should I do? Should I use the create cash receipt button, or should I use the create invoice button? So for if it's a booking where they're checking out, let's say they are there and they're checking out, they've already paid, and now they would like to have a record of their payment, or like a receipt at a grocery store when you buy something and you get a receipt, then you'll want to create the cash receipt. If, on the other hand, they want to be billed for it, so for example, they're there, they've made the booking, and they haven't paid yet, but they would like to get a bill that shows what the expenses are, and then they will pay within a certain amount of time, you'll use the create invoice button. So simpler way of putting that is cash receipt already paid, create invoice to be paid. So for this example, let's just imagine that they have already paid and now they're checking out and they want a receipt. So I'll click on create cash receipt. Okay, so everything looks good. I can actually edit the message on the invoice, but I'm not going to do that. And I'll go ahead and create cash receipt in open PDF. That's fine for that. Okay, so now I'm actually in the invoice. It's created an invoice and it shows that now the balance due is 0. It's made a payment automatically, registered a payment automatically for that particular booking. Okay, so let's look at those three things. There's the booking details page, there's the payment number, and then there's the invoice. There's those three things. So let's first look at the booking. So I'll click back on the booking. This is where we were before. This is the actual booking, but you'll notice now that it's paid and the balance due is 0. It's the exact same one we saw before, except now the balance due is 0. And also you'll see in the fiscal documents section, we have a link to that cash receipt that we just made. Now, if I click on that cash receipt, it takes me back to where we just were. This is the actual invoice. And now if you want to print that out, you just simply click on the print button and it opens up a new tab. Well, it's actually a PDF and it will show a receipt that they can have and you can print that out. Okay, and also, of course, you can send this via email. And in case you want to cancel out this invoice, you can click on the button right here, which says create credit cash receipt, which will make a new cash receipt, a credit cash receipt that will indicate that the payment here has been canceled out. Okay, so those are two things. I talked about the booking number, where you can click on that here, and then you have the actual invoice number or the cash receipt number right here, which I clicked on. And then we also have this payment number. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And that just simply indicates that a payment has been made in our system. Now, you might think, well, what's the difference between the payment and also the invoice? Well, the invoice is actually a fiscal document, whereas the payment is more like a note in our system that a payment has been made. In fact, you can actually take payments and unlink them from certain bookings and link them to other bookings. And by the way, to access information about these bookings, payments, or invoices, you can simply click on the Bookings tab, the Invoicing tab. In the Invoicing tab, it'll be here under Cash Receipts. You see it right there. That's the John Smith one. Or you can click on the Payments tab to see past payments. So that was the payment that we just made right now with the ledger account of 003. Okay, so actually sometimes in our system, let's say, for example, we have this John Smith booking. And let's say I added a payment note. Let's say I hadn't created a cash receipt and I just added a payment note. Maybe it was just a deposit. Maybe they paid only 50%. So that will make a payment under the payment notes section and it will appear under the payment section. But of course, that particular payment will not appear under the invoicing section because at that point, I haven't made an invoice yet. But once I add a bunch of payment notes, let's say they're paying in increments, and then I create a cash receipt for that payment, then it will appear under the invoicing tab. There'll be a fiscal document generated right here. And also I can look at those individual payments under the payments tab. So I hope that was simple enough. You might be thinking, well, it sounds a bit confusing, but after a couple of times of using it, you'll notice that it's pretty intuitive and straightforward to keep track of. Okay, so those are the details for that. Is there anything I missed for that? Let me just check. So export, setting up the invoicing module, we did that. Exporting a PDF report. Actually, yeah, let me hop back into screen share mode and show you where you can make a report. So this is the invoicing button. Let me click on that again. And this is good for if you want to make a end of day report or just an accounting report for a month or a year. So you'll click on invoicing and then click on accounting report. You can select the start date, for example, October 1st. You know something, I'm going to show you how to do an end of day report. So I just make the start date and the end date just to be the exact same. And I only want to include cash receipts. So that would be bookings that have already been paid for and we've generated a receipt for them. And then I just click the format. Normally I do, there's the PDF standard version or the detailed version. And you can experiment with that as well if you prefer to check out the detailed version. But I'll just keep it standard right now and click on export. And then there you have it. You'll notice that there's only one item here because it's an end of day report. So it's just the one that I made today. And you can see the summary for the accounting report here where we have the credit column and the debit column. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that. By the way, you can also look at unpaid invoices here. This is for when, remember the cash receipt is for when it's already a generated or it's a payment that's already been made and you want to create a cash receipt for them. The unpaid invoice section is for when you use that create invoice button. In fact, let me just look at that real quick. Let's go back to that one. And if you look at the create invoice button right here, it gives me a warning because this has already been invoiced. But now you'll notice there's a section here, terms of payment. So let's say you're going to get payment within 7 days or 10 days, 14 days. You can select that and then create the invoice. And the system will know that it's an unpaid invoice that needs to be paid soon. And once you create that, in fact, I'll go back to invoicing and look at some of these past unpaid ones. So here's one that I made back in 2019. And this is just a test one, but I created an invoice that had not been paid yet, so 30 days overdue. But let me just go ahead and say that they finally got in contact with me. They finally found some money to pay that $17 that was due. So I click on register payment. I indicate that it was a payment of $17. Yeah, I'll just put it for the default register card cash. You can specify what kind of method that they paid if you want, but I'll keep it to the default. Click on save. And you'll now notice that once unpaid invoice is now paid because they paid for the invoice, as I mentioned. There you go. Okay, that was rambly. But anyways, I hope you understand that now. Okay, so I think that's everything for the invoicing section. Let's go back to the overall slide. So standard messages on the invoices. Yeah, that can be set up under the invoicing module, as I mentioned before, and you can experiment with that feature to take a look at that. So now let's move on to the final part of our webinar, or the second to last part of our webinar, the extras function. So let's go back into screen share mode. Well, okay, for me, I know it's in screen share mode, but for you, it's just looking at the back end. So let's click on settings, and I mean, we're already at settings, but I'll just click on it just for in case you weren't already there. Settings, and then you'll click on extras. So I've already created one extra, which is a bicycle. And you may have noticed that it appeared there on the booking form. But let's go through the process of creating a new extra anyway, so that you can know how that's done. And of course, to do that, it's as simple as clicking on Add New. So for this particular extra, I'm going to make it so that it's breakfast. Okay. And the description for that, let's see, this is a nice breakfast. And I'm going to make it so that it's $10 for the breakfast, and I'll go ahead and upload an image. The actual breakfast doesn't look that good, but we're going to use this pretty image that I found on Google. And so there you go. So if I click on save, now I've got a standard um, new extra that will be available on the booking form. But let's look into some more advanced options for this. If I click on edit, and you can do this at the creation stage. Of course, once again, you can change the sort order so that it appears on top. This is good in case you want to give more attention to the extra and encourage your potential guests to select that extra. But I'll leave it to auto for now. Of course, you can also have it internal, and you're familiar with this terminology by now, hopefully, because it's the same thing as with the room types. If you set it to internal, you can make it from the front desk, but you cannot make it from the public booking form. And then this feature here is quite useful. You can have it the extra appear only if certain room types are selected. So let's say, for example, that I only want breakfast to be allowed as an extra if people book the suite. Or, well, then I can select that. And of course, this information is only shown internally. Or I can make it the other way around, where in the description for the suite, I say that breakfast is included by default. But for the double room or the single room, well, you'll have to pay $10 extra to get a breakfast. And also here you can set the maximum bookable quantity. So let's say you want to make sure they avoid making the mistake of booking 20 breakfasts, for your staff to know. So you can just make it so that's corresponding to the number of guests and nights. So let's say that there's 2 guests and they're staying for 5 nights. So then the maximum bookable quantity is 10. And you can also change the default value to the max value. So that would mean that it requires an extra action for them to turn it off. And this could be a good way in case you want to encourage sales of certain extras, or have it so that the default is that they must have an extra, one of these extras chosen. And also this field right here is quite nice, keeping count per day. So you can make it so that there's only, this is for throughout the hotel, you can make it so that the maximum available per day is a certain amount. So let's say the max capacity for having breakfast for one day is 20. That's the size of your kitchen. And you can have it so that it keeps count per day. So now when they actually book that extra on the calendar, you'll be able to see that one of those extras was chosen. So, and then also there's this option right here for making it available for a limited period. So let's say for the summer period, you have it so that you can rent a kayak or canoe, and you can have it so that that extra appears automatically if the booking is within a certain range of dates. Or you can get creative if there's different kinds of extras that are available during different seasons of the year. Okay, so there we have it. And something, I'm going to go ahead and make one, which is, I'm going to make it standard. Display regardless of room types. I'll make it public. The default value, I can leave that at the max value. Guests can choose any range, 0 between max or 0 or max. Oh, by the way, you can also create it so that it's mandatory. Extras are mandatory. But I'm going to leave it off. And by the way, you can create it mandatory and make it so that it's showing if certain room types are selected. So, for example, if they select a certain room type, then it's mandatory that they get that extra if they're going to do that. Like, for example, that could be good for like a cleaning fee, or there's a room where you allow a dog or a pet, and there's a mandatory cleaning fee or something like that associated with that room. Let me switch back. Okay. Keep count per day, and I'm going to allow it so that they can get it on the day they arrive. They can get breakfast that day. They can get breakfast through any day during the stay. But on the day of departure or checkout, I have a weird setting in my hotel where I'm not going to allow them to get breakfast for that day. I'm just going to make it that way just so you can know there's extra functionality there. Okay, looks like everything is good and set up. Good. You know something, I'm going to make this tax-free. Why not? Breakfast is tax-free for some reason. All right, I'm going to click on save. Now you'll notice it's there, of course, under my list of extras, but also now, you know something, I'm going to do it from the public booking forms viewpoint instead of making it internally. So I'll click on how to install. And we do the website builder. So I'll click on that, open that in a new tab. Here we are. So this is the actual place where they can make a booking. Click on search. And so this is how it looks from the, so how many guests did I put in? Yeah, number of guests too. Okay, so single room, I think. Actually, I'm going to select this. 2 guests, good. And good, I'm going to choose, you can turn off the option of letting them choose a room under settings, booking engine, general options, just so you know. But I have it so that the guests can actually choose their physical room. And there we go. Okay, so we've got the breakfast, and so it's already set to 1 by default. And I'll go ahead and click on next step. Okay, so John Smith 2, the sequel. And I'll go ahead and click on book now. Oh, we got to fill in all those fields. Forgot about that. Oh, and because this is the public booking form, so I actually had to fill in all those fields. All right, well, that was a little blooper, but that's okay. Let's just go back and make it from the back end. But you get the idea. That's where they can do it. And I'll go ahead and select this, select the suite. And there you go. Got the extra already set up. Make it the same John Smith. Well, there's no reason why the same person can't book twice, right? So there you go. Click on booking. I've created the booking, but what I wanted to show you is now on the calendar, when you click on it, see right here, under breakfast, it's, of course, there's the 20, which is the max number of extras possible. There's the number 20, of course, but then I have it noted here that there was a 1 extra for that date. So this is good for your crew. They can take a look and see how many breakfasts they need to make or how many of the extras they need to prepare for that day. And by the way, this is just kind of a side thought. You can go to settings, user accounts, and create new user accounts with limited permissions if you want them to be able to log into the back end and see certain details. So for example, for your cleaning crew or your cooking crew, they can go to the calendar and see these details so that they know what to prepare and what to clean. Okay, there you go. So that's all the information about extras. Let me go back to our webinar slide. So we've talked to our room type options, invoicing feature, the extras, making a negative extra as a discount. Okay, so there's a couple extra things right here. So keep count per day, filter for certain room types only, make bookings with extras only. So that you can do that by going to settings. Let me show you. Go to settings, booking engine, general options for the, or I think it's actually, is it right here? I think it's because you can set it for, because you can create multiple booking engines. I'm sorry. Okay, so cancel. Okay, yeah, it is under the general options. So general options, and then allow bookings without accommodation. So the default I think is set to no, but I've made it yes. So that way they can just pay for a breakfast without actually having a room booking. So it's kind of like a simple POS system. And then you just click on save. Okay. And what else was there? Let's see. There was make a negative extra as a discount. Okay, so let's hop back in and let's look at the booking that we just made. So this is the other John Smith one, I think. Or is this the same one? Well, anyways, doesn't matter. Okay, so I'll click on that. And if you click on add extras here, you can just make an extra on the fly. So assuming that I didn't invoice this one yet, I can click on add extras, and I can choose a predefined extra, which are the ones that we already have here, or I can make it something like a discount, and I can make that so that it for whatever reason, there's a discount, and I can actually explain that in the description, and I can make it a price of negative $10 or something like that. Okay, so now it just thinks that there's still $11 due. In fact, something. Let me just go ahead and delete that so it doesn't mess up my books. But you get the point. Here you can create a discount. Or I'm sorry, that doesn't show that there's $11 due. It's actually they paid $11 over. So it would be red if it was $11 due. Here it's yellow because it's $11 paid over. But I'll go ahead and delete that. Okay, there you go. And I think the last thing I needed to share was the information for a room type. And also that applies for extras as well. So when they go to the public booking form, let me show you that real quick. When they go to the public booking form, I'll go back to settings, booking engine, how to install. And let me see. Okay, I have language as auto detect. So it'll detect based on where they are. Oh, I actually only have English. So let me go ahead and create. So go to settings, languages and texts, language support. So here I have it so that only English is turned on. But let's say you get lots of guests that are English speaking and also, of course, of another language. So for example, Spanish. I can click on save after turning Spanish on or whatever languages you wish to turn on. Then you go back to settings. Let's just go for this example first. And I have the suite that I just recently made. I'll click on edit. And you'll notice now that there's this section that I already created. This is the English section, but then there's also the Spanish section. So I can change the name of the suite into a name in Spanish, have the description in Spanish. You can use Google Translate, of course, but we definitely recommend if you know an actual language speaker, they can translate the terms for you. And I don't know how to say sweet in Spanish, but es sweet. Oh my. Me experimenting with my Spanish. So let me go ahead and click on save. And now and by the way, you can do that same thing with the extras. You'll notice that when you click on edit now for the breakfast, there's the option for English and there's the option for Spanish. So now if they select a different language for the booking form, it will show in different languages. And something, yeah. I think that's how you spell it in Spanish. Es un buen desayuno. I think that's how you say it. All right. And I'll go ahead and click on save. And I'll go ahead and click on save. And next will be, all right. So now I'll go to, where was I at? Okay. So I just clicked on save and, sorry, had a little brain fart there for a second. Okay. So yeah, now I'll go ahead and click on booking engine and I'll go to how to install. There you go. Okay, so now I get a preview of the booking engine, and notice this little thing right here. I can select the language, and if I switch the language, I'll be able to see some stuff that it's already changed into Spanish, and of course the room descriptions. Oh, I didn't change the single room or double room. But for the suite, I changed it, and it says Este es un suite. And then I have this one that's changed. I guess I didn't really go through the process of changing all of them, but of course you can have these options appear in different languages. Some of the text is already default different, and some of it is, the stuff that we entered in on our own. Okay, there you go. I think that's everything. So thanks for sticking with us. That was I think we kept it to under an hour, and now I'm going to go ahead and look to see if there are any questions in the main chat. Let's see. All right, so we've got just a couple of questions. We've got people saying hello to me. Thank you for that. And it looks like all right. I think everything's pretty much answered right there. So no new questions. And by the way, in case you have any new questions or something that wasn't addressed in this particular webinar, you can feel free to just go to our chat support, and I'll show you where to do that right now. I'll go back into screen share mode, and right here in the bottom right corner, you'll see a little chat button, and you'll be able to talk with somebody usually within minutes if you, not minutes, actually seconds, if you click on the chat button. And even if you go to sirvoy.com or just our public website, you'll see the same chat window, and it leads to the same place, and you can answer it. You can ask and have any questions answered. Today, thank you for joining for our first ever Sirvoy webinar. Remember, please, to subscribe if possible for other great details or great information that may pop up, and it can help you know how to use our system to the max. Thanks for joining in today, and until next time, see you later.